Okay. Stop me if you've heard this one. There were 12 nuns who walk into a voting booth in Indiana. Yeah, exactly. That's right. A couple Tuesdays ago, when Barack Obama won the Indiana primary. Yeah, we're going to do some arithmetic tonight. It's more terrifying than the SAT, let me tell you. 12 nuns walked into a voting booth in Indiana. Were told, "Where's your ID, sister?" They were denied the right to vote, and that got on the air. How cute. The 90-year-old retired sisters didn't have active driver's licenses, right? And I guess, so they were denied the right to vote. I mean, it's true, some of them look suspiciously like Danny DeVito. And they all had the name Sally Field, but that's No. But see, you heard about the 12. But then I looked at some statistics. Professor Matt Barretto of the University of Washington, did some calculations. And he determined that 18.1% of African Americans in Indiana do not have the ID which is accepted to vote in Indiana. Okay, 18.1%, 9% of the voting population there is African American. There are over 4 million voters that were in that primary. 400,000 African Americans. You do the arithmetic. 18%, 72,000, right? Except for those of you who went through the No Child Left Behind program. The others who went through the No Child Left Behind No Child Behind Left program. 72,000 voters, 90.1% of black voters voting for Barack Obama. You tell me who won the primary. Okay. Hillary Clinton officially won that primary by 14,000 votes. This isn't about Hillary Clinton. It's not about Barack Obama. It's about, I had talked to this former professor of statistics at the University of Indiana. I used to have a job before I was a journalist. Yeah, it's true. I work for a living. And 9,000 African American voters lost their vote because they didn't have the right ID. And I guess that's why the sisters were turned away. They thought that, under those robes, it could be African American. Never know. Other games account for that 14,000 vote difference. Hillary didn't win the Indiana primary. John McCain won the Indiana primary because, see, those rules were established right across the Skyway by a legislature, which is the birthplace of the Ku Klux Klan, by the way, not Mississippi. These guys, the ones who kicked the habit, there was the guy, I want you to know his name. His name is Todd Rokita, who is the Secretary of State of Indiana. Okay? And he's the one who imposed the rules set up by the legislature to say that you had to prove who you are to vote. Okay, sounds reasonable, right? As he says, when it was brought up to him that that the law applies to everyone in Indiana, even to the nuns, too bad, sisters. But the law applies to everyone except that, if you're African American, the chance you will not have the right ID is twice as much as if you're a white American, okay? All right? We know why that law was there. Now, just Indiana, it's spreading. In the 2004 election, 300,000 people 300,000 people, over a 250,000, were turned away from the polls for the wrong ID. Now, I wanted to know if all these people were showing up voting illegally. See, this all came up from new laws. That was only when 6 states had these voter ID laws. Now it's 12, and after the Indiana ruling of the United States Supreme Court, oh, did I tell you that the Supremes were involved in this too? The nuns were knocked out by guys in black robes as well. Stole their habits. Okay. They ruled that Indiana's law was fair, provided equal protection to all Americans, because they said anyone could get an ID, because they said Indiana has special provision. If you didn't have the right ID, you could go to the county seat, and the lawyers for the ACLU said, well, the average voter is 17 miles from the county offices where they can get a special ID. Okay. And Justice Roberts said, in Indiana, driving 17 miles is no big deal. The people who don't have the ID don't have, they didn't pick Roberts because he was smart. They didn't pick him because he was black either. Then there was Justice Scalia. 17, so he said 17 miles is 17 miles whether you're white or black, rich or poor. Now, I'm an investigative reporter. I do that for BBC Television Britain because, you know, it's illegal under Patriot Act 3 in the United States. I do. And I thought what was really important, what is 17 miles? So I did some investigating. That's Justice Scalia's car. Really, that's his Beamer right there. Black as a nun's habit. Now, that's his 17-mile ride. What's going on here? So 300,000 people, over a 250,000 people were turned away from the polls for having the wrong ID. This is because, why were these ID laws created? Because, you people, don't you know that there are 5 million, count them, well, I'd have to do this a million times, 5 million illegal aliens voting as Democrats. That is according to the Republican Party, their spokesman on the matter, a little pinhead named Senator Russell Pierce of Arizona. He said 5 million illegal aliens are voting in the Democratic Party now. So I called him up. See, it's a crime to vote if you're an illegal alien or just don't have the right to vote. It's a crime. You go to jail. So I called up Senator Pierce. I said, wow, 5 million. Can you name me 5? Just 5. Well, how can I name you 5? I said, because they're registered and you got their name and address, right? So why don't you have them busted? I talked to U.S. prosecutors. I talked to several attorneys general. I said, if you found an illegal voter, what would you do? They said, we would arrest them. I said, so how many did you arrest? The question was put to a guy, U.S. prosecutor in New Mexico, where they had new ID laws, named David Iglesias. And he said, I'm glad you asked me that, Mr. Palast. David Iglesias is a good Republican appointee, New Mexico, see? And he was handed a list of 150 illegal voters. People showed up with the wrong ID. Obviously, see, because what the Republican Party want to do is make sure that if they're turning away 250,000 people in 2004, and it will be, because they've quintupled the number of states with these laws, it will be over 1 million in November. How do you knock out 250,000 voters and then 1 million voters who are illegal, who swum across the Rio Grande just to vote for Hillary? Wet, dripping wet, pulling that lever. Venceremos. Swim back. right. How do you do that unless you can at least bust one, do the perp walk with the illegal voter, with Jose? So they had to find some. So they handed David Iglesias a list of 150 people, the U.S. prosecutor. He ran all over the mesas, he said, with the FBI until the FBI agent said, enough already, man. There's not two guys voting illegally named Juan Gonzalez. There might be two guys named Juan Gonzalez in New Mexico. Maybe. So the number of people that they busted was exactly 0. Well, I shouldn't say 0. Someone did get busted. See, because a guy then came to New Mexico and Iglesias said, the FBI agents are literally quitting. They won't do this game. The Republican Party chiefs said, well, arrest someone. He said, what do you mean arrest someone? I'm a U.S. prosecutor. What do you mean arrest someone? They said, arrest someone. They'll plead. Of course he will. It's a federal crime. Just arrest someone. He wouldn't. He said, I'm a Republican. I'm not a felon. He didn't understand that that's a... it's a dangerous world, right? So a guy flew into New Mexico to kind of see if he could straighten out the situation, named Karl Rove, and had a discussion with the Republican Party chiefs about the failure of Mr. Iglesias to prosecute these illegal voters. That didn't exist. And Iglesias said, I'm not doing it. That's what he told me. And Mr. Rove flew back to Washington, went to the White House, to the Oval Office, and told the President of the United States that U.S. Prosecutor Iglesias was a problem. The President called in the Attorney General, Mr. Gonzalez, who fired David Iglesias. Okay? So someone got busted. Prosecutor Iglesias. That's what's behind the U.S. prosecutor firing. Forget all this stuff about politics. It's not about political involvement. It was about telling David Iglesias, Bud Cummins of Arkansas, and other prosecutors, all Republicans, but not felons, you bring us the heads of voters, or we get your head. That's what was going on there, see? You haven't read that, okay? I'm telling you that now, and I'm going to tell you who else is going to tell you that. David Iglesias, because I'm making a film right now. You can see the preliminary version. I brought some DVDs. I want you to get it. I want you to show it. I don't care how you do it. Seize a radio station here. I want you to get that and you'll meet David Iglesias, who will lay it out for you. And someone will explain to you why it's illegal. Okay? Professor Robert F. Kennedy says, see, this isn't just a bad idea to tell prosecutors to prosecute innocent people. It's obstruction of justice. It's go to jail. It's breaking rocks on a chain gang time. Okay? He says a little bit different. See, when his father was Attorney General, the Justice Department protected voters. Now they hunt voters. It's a government against you. Yeah, it is dangerous times, Mr. Bush. You are very dangerous. Now, that's Indiana. On Super Tuesday, Democrats ran out to vote, lots of states, but 1 million did not find their names on the voter registries. 1 million. Now, you read about that in the Tribune. Okay. All right. And 1 million voters didn't see their names there. And there were accusations for a while, like for example, in New Mexico, there were 17,000 voters whose names weren't on the voter registries when they showed up. And Obama people blamed Clinton people blamed Obama, blah, blah, blah. No. See? And they were given, it's okay, they were given something called provisional ballots. And they filled out these little forms, and they were thrown in the garbage. Now, does it matter? Okay, New Mexico is a swing state. Al Gore won the state by 200 votes. You thought Florida was close. 200 votes in New Mexico in 2000. And in 2004, George Bush won New Mexico by 5,900 votes. That was it. 5,900 votes. Not counting 35,000 votes that were cast and never counted. Most of those on these provisional ballots. 17,000 Democrats in the primary. That's the election. No one's looking at it. We're going to look at it. Now, how did that 17,000 votes happen? How did we end up in the United States of America on Election Day with 3 million provisional ballots counted? Now, by the way, where does Greg Palast get this? Is not from my little black helicopter. This is from the Elections Assistance Commission of the United States government. 3,006,080 ballots were cast and not counted in the United States of America to the icing. Okay? Now, how did that happen? 3,006,080. Okay? That's right. Yeah, 3 million cast and not counted. There's all kinds of reasons. One was that there was provisional ballots. 3 million provisional ballots were cast and not counted. 3 million provisional ballots were cast. 1,090,000 were not counted. 3 million ballots. That meant that there 3 million people were challenged, not permitted to vote. Someone said, you can't vote. By the way, I was just speaking in Palm Springs, and I asked there, because it's California, contested election. I said, how many of you voted in the Super Tuesday primary? About 100 people raised their hand. I said, and there were 2 black people in the audience, very white area, okay? I asked, how many of you were challenged and received only provisional ballots? 3 people raised their hands, both the African Americans in the audience. I said, that's typical. Okay? See, if you don't know what a provisional ballot is, I can tell you what color you are. Right? We have an apartheid voting system in America. Let me explain how it works, okay? How did this happen? How did 3 million voters get challenged? I didn't know. I mean, I had no idea. I just knew it was happening. Okay? I knew it was happening, but I didn't know how it was happening until midnight of about October 16th, 2004. I'm starting to get emails into my box, into my inbox at my server at georgewbush.org. Yeah, what happens? See, the honchos at, in fact, this was not just anyone's email that I was getting in. It was from Karl Rove's office. I kid you not, from Karl Rove's office, okay? Let's see if I even have it. I think I have one here. Yeah, from Karl Rove's office. Now, Karl Rove doesn't normally send me his email, except in this case, see, what happened was they send their emails within the George Bush campaign to georgewbush.com. But a friend of mine, John Wooden, owned a web domain, georgewbush.org. As secretary or someone, actually it was a guy named Tim Griffin, one of Rove's assistant, wrote .org by accident, and 70 of the Rove office emails right into my inbox. Now, really? And what happens is BBC said to me, you know, you can't look at that email you know, unless you think that there is evidence of criminality. Well, I said it was georgewbush.org. That's evidence of. So should I look at it? Yeah. So I did, and it said something about caging. Here's a caging list. Here's a caging list. Here's a caging list. Caging list. Caging list. What's a caging list? So I went to some experts that said caging list. It's when mail comes back to you and you cage it. And you open up mail that's been returned. Apparently hundreds of thousands of letters were sent out to new voters saying, welcome, new voter. Hi, from the Republican Party. That sounds nice. The letters came back, and whoever letter came back is undelivered. They sent them first class. Multi-million-dollar operation, man. If their letter came back, they challenged the voter's vote as being fraudulent. And remember how many they arrested. So they had this lists. But they didn't just give them to the prosecutors who said these lists are bogus, there's no one to arrest. They used those lists. They filled up blackberries in Wisconsin. They went to county election supervisors in Florida. They gave it to the Secretary of State of Ohio. Okay? These caging lists, the list of supposedly fraudulent voters. Now listen. Here's the list. I printed it out. Now. Hey, listen. I don't know exactly. If they're fraudulent voters, bust them. We should never be in charge of fraudulent voters. We should never permit fraudulent voting. So what I did was, I went to the Republican Party headquarters. I went to Rove's office. He wouldn't talk to me. So then I went to the Florida campaign chairman for George W. Bush, and I said, lose something? He said, well, yeah, I'll take that back. I said, no, tell me what it is first. I'll give it back to you. Because it had his name on it, Brett Doster. And he said, oh, that's our list of donors. Okay. I said, and I read him, there's included like a whole page of addresses like this were from the Jacksonville State Street Rescue Mission for the homeless, right? This is the Bush-Cheney donor. They said, what do you do? Did you invite them to the $500 plate dinners? He said, yeah, they lick the plates. No, I made that up. But he did say about the donors. Then they said, well, you don't want, they finally fessed up. And they said, yeah, it's fraudulent voters. We're getting those fraudulent voters. You don't want fraudulent voters, people that aren't living at the addresses that they say voting, do you? I said, no. But were they fraudulent voters? Were they fraudulent voters? Well, who would get mail at an address that they don't live at, but is a legal voter? They sent letters to the homeless shelters. Not all those guys received their mail. You don't lose your vote because you lose your home. Okay? You're not supposed to. They sent them, and I will say, PBS did pick up my story, and they investigated this with me. David Brancaccio of Now went to Florida, and where else were they sending the letters? To African-American students at African-American colleges saying, welcome, voter, and they sent them in August. And the letters came back, and they challenged their vote. And this is one of my favorite ones. This entire page, like Chevalier Kimball, Naval Air Station, Tommy Coates, Naval Air Station, Craig Chisney, Naval Air Station, Saul Cummings Jr., Naval Air Station, Naval Air Station, Naval Air Station. These were active duty soldiers. Now, Mr. Bush, Mr. Rove, why do you think a soldier would not be at their home address? They challenged the voters. Those votes would come in from overseas. They challenged the voters. They didn't even know that they lost their vote. They didn't even know they lost their vote. 750,000, this is the official figure, 750,000 absentee ballots were challenged and thrown out in the 2004 election. 750,000. Some of them. 3 million challenges by the Republican Party. 3 million. Okay? Go to Baghdad, lose your vote. Mission accomplished. And by the way, in case you're wondering, you are allowed to vote if you're a soldier overseas from your home address, even if you're a black soldier. It's true. Now, so what are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Okay, here's what we're going to do. We can do something about it. Here's the program. Steal back your vote. See? Because people are always asking me, oh, you showed them how they stole the election in 2000, how they stole it in 2004. Are they going to steal your vote in November 2008? No, they've already stolen this election. They've already been cleaning the voter lists like crazy, cleaning and purging. Like mad. There's ways to steal back your vote. Don't, for example, don't mail in your vote. You think that, I know a lot of you are scared of black box voting, that, Karl Rove's going to sit in the cave and change the software so that when, you vote for Nader, it's going to go to McCain. That could happen. But that's nothing compared to how they are doing it right now, okay? Including such things as where secretaries of state are allowed to unilaterally purge the list. It's called voter verification. This began in 2006, January 1st of 2006. The law changed. A new provision of the Help America Vote Act kicked in. The Help America Vote Act that George Bush signed in 2002, and whenever Bush tells us he's going to help us vote, be a little bit cautious. Okay, so now there's many things you do. Don't mail in your ballot. The people are going to muck with a machine, but you're going to say, I don't want you to do that, so I'll mail you the ballot instead. No. Those ballots don't get counted. We know officially 750,000. They don't tell me about the rest. All right, now, steal back your vote. I want you to do this. I have launched an investigation with law professor Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Okay? He is deeply concerned. He wrote the article for Rolling Stone about the 2004 election. You know about the work I've done on the faux felon purge of 2000 in Florida and other work. We have teamed together. We're going after these guys right now. This is not about saving the Democratic Party. This is about saving the democracy. Okay? This is our job. I don't care about the Democratic Party. I care about our democracy, like right now, see? And this is systematic. We're going after it right now. I want you to go to gregpalast.com. GREGPALAST.com. All sign up. You all become .communists. Go on. And it's a dual thing. You go on my list and you go on Bush's list at the same time, right? And we'll have our next Green Fest at Guantanamo next year. Okay, no problem. But in the meantime, we're going to fight them back. So you're going to get the information there. You're going to get the disc. I'm going to go sign my books. I'm going to sign the disc. You make a donation. It's tax deductible to get our disc with me and Bobby and Iglesias. The programs I've done for BBC television that they won't allow you to see in the United States, that's what you're going to do. Okay? That's what we're going to do together. That's what I'm going to do with you. I'm going to need your help and attention. When you see the games going on, I want you to let me know. You're going to take the discs, you're going to spread it around. You're going to take my articles. The book Armed Madhouse with this material is the first New York Times bestseller ever, which I've removed the copyright. It's a Commons copyright. I want you to steal all of it and spread it out. Okay? That's what we're going to do. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back up to that. It is to the bookstore up there. And we're going to spread this news around. gregpalast.com. I expect to see you there electronically. Okay? We're going to steal back the election. It starts right now. Thank you. See you up there.